Okay, so we're going to be designing the bevel gear support. It's nicely fully detailed here. We're going to do this in 3 or 4 segments. This wing here at the bottom, there's a copy of it. So we'll make that. We'll make the base. We'll make this flange up here and this cylinder out here. So once we have all this completed, we'll just union them together, place them together, union them, and then if we need to subtract anything, we can do so. So if we decide to leave the holes for the end, that's understandable and pretty simple. So I'm going to start with basically the leg here, or the wing. So I open up a new drawing, and basically what we want to do is create that overall shape of the part. We start with the circles, with the inside circle being the diameter of 20. This is all millimeters, so if you need to change your units, go ahead and do so. To do that, you go into format units, and you make sure you're in decimal. We're engineering got decimal, and I convert it to millimeters. Next, click OK. So now if I actually draw my part, it will be to the specifications. 20, and now if I want to rotate, I can rotate it later on. So rotate to another. This one's the inner circle, diameter is 30. Well, the inner circle is 20, the outer is 30. Okay, here's something wrong. Circle. D-enter, this is the inside, 20, and then D-enter 38. So I have those 2 circles, that's going to be one part, and might as well do the making sure quadrants on. I select the quadrants here, and I'm going to figure out what angles this is. But before I do that, I might as well create a reference line from the center. I have a height of, let's see here, top view. I have a line that's vertically at 66 minus the thickness, which is 56. So if I draw a horizontal line at that point, that will be my reference. So here is my bottom. So I would go back into a drawing. I created a 20 inside diameter, 38 outside diameter, and I took this 66, I subtracted the 10, and I got the bottom of the base. Next thing is I need to create these 2 angles. Now to get that information, I have to verify. Oh geez, it doesn't specify. So looking at this drawing, we see a 60 to the center, and this center is the center of the circles. And if the total is 88, then we know our first from the edge to the center of the circle is going to be 28. So we go back to our drawing, we create a line from the center across 28, and we hit the quadrant. So I have my first side complete. Then I have to figure out my second, which may be exactly the same, or it might be different. So for the other part, we're just going to make it equal. So we use the mirror command, and we mirror it over. I can stretch this horizontal line to enclose the part. So here's exactly what I created, and now I can make it into a 3D object. To do that, there's a few different options. One simple way would be to create a region of this material here, which is going to be probably my best bet. So I'm going to go to Draw, Region. I select these 3 parts. Should create a region. Now if you don't see a shaded area, it's because you're in 2D wire, and you can change it to conceptual. Now as you can see, the region selected this area here, which is incorrect. So I'm going to undo this, if my computer allows me to. And before I do the region once more, what I need to make sure, is that I cut the circle, the exterior circle first. So I'm going to trim this out. So trim, select all, enter, and remove that. Then I can finally do a region. Either type it in or you can go into draw region and select this entire object. Now it's okay if I select the entire object including the circle because I'm going to subtract it out later on. From there I can do the extrude, and the thickness of the inside material is 10. Move it down actually. I have the inner circle, which I'm going to later on cut out, so I'm going to move that up using the gizmo, and I'm going to use that later as well. Next step is I need to get the circle here, which I hover around, make sure I select the center, and I'm going to extrude the circle at a distance of 3, and that's on both sides, so you can easily just copy it over from using the center points on both, or you can use the quadrants to make it simpler for yourself. Next part is I extrude out the center circle that I just created, and I can use the subtract command. But before I do the subtract, I want to make sure I union all these parts. So I union that, and I go into my subtract command where I subtract this, giving me the final solid part. So this is the lower wing. From there I move into my base. So once this component is complete, what you can do is still work on the top view because we're going to rotate them around later on. So I'm going to go back to top view, and I'm going to be creating the base. Now there's one thing we don't know about this drawing is if the back is actually open all the way through or not, but we can decide that later. I believe it's open all the way through, so we'll do open all the way through. So now I need to do this outline here. The most difficult part will be this area here with the fillets or curves, so we'll work on that next. I'm going to start with the 90 here, which is the vertical, move up the spacing here, which is 28, and then we're going to start creating this lovely drawing here. So if I looked at it from the front view, I'm going to do a quick 90. I'm going up at a distance of 28. Now looking at the radius, I may need to increase. This will be 12 and 12, and then 10 and 10. So every time you have a, oh, that's not 12 and 10. Every time you have a radius, you do double. So you do 12 and 12. And there's no specified distance, so I have to make sure I do a copy of my overall, so that way I know what size I'm making the whole object. And this is 88, so let me put that dimension in there for you guys. So I did a, that's too small. So this is going to be 88 total. I did the 28, I did a 12, 12, and looking at the drawing here, this is going to be another specified distance. I'm not sure how long, so I'm going to leave that, but I'm going to use a line as a reference, as well as this back line is going to be 150, so I might as well create that. This is 150. I use my center point as a, or a midpoint as my reference, so I'm going to use a midpoint to 88, and I'm going to create, and that's my back line. So my back line is 150, my front is 90, and my distance apart is 88. So that should help me with this area here. So once I have that, I'm going to have to figure out exactly how to get this to match here. Whereas the distance, thickness of the back is 10. So I'm going to use that as a reference. and that's gonna be, there should be a fillet here in addition to a fillet this way. 12, 12, 12, 12. And there's two more 12s. 12, 12. And that's where it connects it. Now I can trim that off. That's how I get my shape. So you'll see as I do the fillets, you'll see how it gets resolved. So I go into my fillets. I have the radius of 12. So every time I had a 12, I did a radius. And this last one is a radius of 6. Now I could tell you the exact dimensions for all of this, but this would be too easy. But here's a reference how I did it. I just designed the lines and then I added the fillets. So in reference to that, you look back into the drawing, you draw a vertical line here that is 12, across 12. In addition to, since it's another turn here, you need to give the radius of 12 again. So you go, so it's actually 12, 24, 12, and you go all the way down up to this edge, and then you do a fillet here of radius of 6. And that gives you that entire curvature. Now the nice part about this is the other side is exactly the same. So all we need to do is mirror it over, and that gives us the overall shape. Now the only problem is we have to remove the material at the center, back, because we have a opening here. So looking back at your Excel, you'll see a gap of 70 by 25. So you can do a rectangle, D for dimension, 70 by 25. Rotate it around. Move it based on the midpoint to midpoint. And the only thing I have to worry about here is there is a radius on this edge here. So it's the radius of, again, 12. So I do a fillet, 12, fillet, radius 12. And when you're happy with that, you just trim out the excess, giving you the final structure. Once you have this complete, your next step would be easy. I would recommend making a copy of it because we're going to use that for a flange. From here we use press pull. Pull, I select, pull, select that, and their thickness is 10. So that gives me one piece, second piece, and now I'm going to be working my third. Third one is just an offset up the back. The only problem here is that, actually going back to my drawing, the radius here is incorrect. I should have changed it. It's supposed to be 3 instead of 12. So if you're doing that and you're ahead, that's great. If not, I won't be able to edit. No, I won't be able to edit it. Should have had the history on. But you can undo, of course, and make it fix pretty fast. So I do the fillet and do radius of 3, like so, and of course copy it over like I just did. I do the press pull 10. Second part is I remove the unwanted parts to this so I can do the actual offset. So I remove everything except the whole back. From here I use the offset command, so I go into offset, and the offset distance is 10. The actual fillet here may change, so you gotta keep that in mind. And there's also a fillet here. So we'll start with the inside fillets. We go into fillet, radius is 6. Both here. If you want to check what the radius is for this, you can click on your mouse and do a quick radius. It's 13. Nope, we want 12. So we actually have to change that. Fillet, radius 12, and we fix that like so. The older versions of AutoCAD, you would have to remove the previous drawing. Once you have that complete, what you do next is you actually can extrude it out. But looking at the drawing, I realized that we'll have to work with this piece here. So it's up to you if you want to add that in now, do the two cylinders now, and extrude it all together, and then add the top material, or do this separately, which may take a little bit more work. So I recommend doing it right away. So instead of extruding it out, I'm going to go and create these two circular cylinders. So using a construction line, I'm going to create a point which is from the back. So from the back it is 60. That's my center of my circle. I usually delete any reference drawings so that I don't get confused. The radius for this circle, so circle radius, which is our default, is 25, and our interior circle was a diameter of 32. Now we have to add these two lines here that are from the quadrant, and you trim out all the unnecessary material. And a reference line. So your overall object is like this, and again we can use press pull to extrude this out, but we're missing one fillet right here. This is too sharp, so I'll go back into this and fillet that out, which is radius of 3. So that looks pretty much clean. There are no fillets at the back, and I'm happy with that. We can go with the press pull. The height is, for this part, 25. It's going to be 25, and then we also have to create the second part, which is going to be the higher cylinder at the center. And that's pretty simple because you just trace over the two circles, and you can do the press pull at a distance of 38 minus 25, which is 13. And finally we place this underneath and these under that, and we still have to cut the hole for here to make it all the way through. That's if we want to. The drawing doesn't specify that, but I'm assuming it wants us to do that. Alright, so the next step after you have this complete is you move it in position. You can just use a corner to corner, and you have your piece. Where you will see there's a front gap, very small, so this is the correct drawing. Otherwise, you may have a problem with your drawing if you do not have this. Next part is you would take this wing. We can do a rotate gizmo, where we rotate over the x-axis, I believe, and we place it in position. Again, you place it using the corner points, since those are the easiest to snap to. I also make a copy of it from one corner point to the other to finish my overall design. Now, in addition to this, if there is a fillet, you may need to do that. So to do the fillets that we see on the drawing here at the bottom, we will actually have to union all these parts. I usually prefer keeping a copy of this. Oh, here we go. Computer's slowing down. Just in case I need to go back into it and make any adjustments. Because once you union it, it's kind of hard to go back. So you select the entire object, you click enter, and you end up with one piece where you can now add the fillets. Do the first fillet, the inside of radius is 6. I select this edge here, and I can do the other side as well. Give me a nice filleted radius, and we have one more radius at the back. So if we look at our bevel drawing here at the back, there is a radius of 25, and from my understanding there's no other radius that we need to worry about, so this would be the final step of the project. Go into fillet, radius 25, Now this may be an issue. Oh no, it looks good. And other side as well. Now again, there is an issue. As you can see, the fillet here does not extend all the way, so we may need to add that, or we do the back first. And probably the best step was to do the back first, but you can also add it after. So that gives you a lovely shape here. And finally, to make this complete, we also need to do that cut at the center. So you can do a press pull. Oops, I'll probably have to draw that circle in here. Once more, snap it to the quadrant, and if I do a press pull going downwards, it should cut through. Oh, if it didn't, I just subtract it. Give me a cut piece like so, with the legs and everything, completing our beveled gear support.